Forget protein shakes. The newest workout supplement, marijuana? Like many other fitness-minded young professionals, a 25-year-old Boston resident named Cameron, my brother's name is Cameron, he smokes a fair amount of pot, and I feel like if I share with him this story, it's gonna blow his mind. Adheres to a fairly typical pre-workout routine. There's 20 minutes of stretching, generally followed by some light cardio, and then there's the component that might be described as less conventional. I usually smoke a joint, he says, speaking on the condition that his last name not be published. As marijuana legalization has pushed the drug further toward the mainstream, and a long-standing social stigma has begun to dissipate, more individuals are toking up before hitting the weight room, sports field, or mixed martial arts mat. Sometimes dubbed canathletes, those who regularly supplement a workout with some form of marijuana laud the benefits of the combination, claiming everything from improved focus and relaxation to help in recovery and pain management. While the idea might seem inherently counterintuitive, my brother told me that protein sort of heals your muscles, so when you work out, your muscles get all tensed up, and you take the protein so your muscles get all better and they heal up. Unless my brother doesn't know what he's talking about, that's what he told me. He said protein heals your muscles, and everybody says about how marijuana slows your reflexes. So let me get this straight. You work out, you take some protein, your muscles are all healed up, then you smoke some weed, your reflexes are slowed, right? Yeah. Okay, so you do a whole bunch of push-ups, crunches, you work out, you're tired, you take some protein, your muscles are all healed up, you smoke some weed, your reflexes, your reflex levels are down to where you want them to be, right? Because you smoked a joint. So wouldn't that be like a total reset for you to do the next workout? That makes sense? Makes sense to me. Weed, after all, is a substance more commonly paired with Doritos than deadlifts. There is a passionate contingent that swears by it. It's a weird phenomenon, but it's an increasingly common phenomenon, says Peter Grinspoon, a primary care doctor at Massachusetts General Hospital and author of the book Free Refills. A doctor confronts his addiction. The fact that a lot of people are saying it helps them can't be ignored. Signs of its influence are everywhere. In Boston and beyond, cannabis-themed yoga classes have become in vogue. On Reddit, users swap stories about their best and worst experiences working out under the influence. I toke up and go for a jog at night through the neighborhood, writes one user. It's like a spirit journey. Even the Massachusetts State Police gave a nod to the curious trend in a recent public service announcement. Working out high is legal, read a tweet sent out by the department. Driving is not. The union of sport and weed is not new. The union of sport and weed is not a new concept. In a famous scene from the 1977 documentary Pumping Iron, Arnold Schwarzenegger can be seen lounging on a sofa, joint in hand, and in a recent interview on a Bleacher Report podcast, former New England Patriots tight end Martellus Bennett estimated that, though it's banned by the league, roughly 90% of current NFL players use marijuana, largely to deal with the physical pounding endured during the season. What's new, though, is the idea of working out while high. I call it a social movement, says Jim McAlpine, the California-based founder of the 420 Games. The number is semi-official code for pot. the multi-city event that includes a 4.20-mile run and yoga class and invites participants to work out under the influence. I'll look on Instagram, and people define themselves as kind of cannabis athletes. Unlike traditional pre-workout supplements, the caffeine and energy drinks designed to provide a jolt while exercising, cannabis has effects, say those who use it, that are largely psychological. Proponents say that the drug gives them focus they otherwise can't achieve, that it breaks up the monotony of a long run, or that it makes them more mentally nimble. When you're high in training, it feels to me that options that might not necessarily be there when you're sober might show up, says a 28-year-old mixed martial artist from Saugus who asked to be identified by his nickname, Junior. When I'm under the influence of cannabis and training, I find my game becomes more creative and less intentional. Cameron from Boston. Wow. Cameron from Boston stumbled into the habit in college when a friend suggested he smoke before a recreational soccer game, and he found himself pleasantly surprised by the results, namely how the typical grueling running suddenly didn't seem so bad. Today, it's become such a part of his routine that wrecked soccer and basketball teammates sometimes jokingly check to make sure his eyes are bloodshot before games. Honestly, I think they're a little intrigued and amazed, like, how are you doing this? He says, but it's what works for me. Tougher to determine is whether the perceived benefits have any scientific basis. Research into marijuana's benefits has been notoriously scant, due in large part to the drug's federal classification as a Schedule I substance, meaning that, along with heroin, LSD, and ecstasy, it's deemed to have no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. It's deemed to have no currently accepted medical use. Patient spotlight. Because of medical marijuana, patients share success stories. Okay. Family with suffering children says cannabis oil treatment needs to be legal. Meet the woman who says she beat her lung cancer with cannabis oil. Mom says cannabis oil treatments are helping her daughter battle pediatric lymphoma. Obviously, there's a bunch of them, so. And the few studies that do exist offer relatively little insight into the drug's effects during physical activity, beneficial or detrimental. The most critical finding from our review was that there are too few studies to draw any firm conclusions about the effects of cannabis on motor function, said Shikha Prasad, a postdoctoral research scientist at the University of Texas Dallas' Center for Brain Health. Prasad co-authored a research review into cannabis's effect on complex motor behaviors. Indeed, even the most ardent spliff and lift advocates admit that the practice isn't for everyone, nor, they say, does it always go smoothly, particularly for the inexperienced. Junior remembers a competition in which he got too high beforehand. By the second or third round, I was just really high and was handily beaten. I do feel it's really easy to fall into the lack of benefit zone, says Junior, who says it took him years of trial and error before figuring out what amount best works for him. It's only useful when done correctly, and there's a small window of correctness and a large window of error. At the same time, some insist it's a trend with staying power. Eric Wilson, a personal trainer and owner of Movement Sciences in Boston, can envision a time in the next 3 to 5 years when there will be different cannabis oils or strains designed to enhance specific activities. If you're going fishing, maybe you want an indica blend, he says. If you want to go for a long run, maybe a different one. In recent years, some advocates have called for professional sports leagues to allow marijuana use. Actually, I gotta be honest with you. You know how marijuana tends to make you paranoid, right? And you hear these people in the NFL go on about how police are racist and, they use police brutality all the time. Can you imagine if you allow professional football players who are telling this narrative that America is racist and the police are violent, they're violent racists too? Can you imagine how much the the marijuana would hype up that paranoia of, oh my God, the police are coming and they're gonna beat me up and they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that because they're racist and everybody's gonna know about the police. It's racism and oh my God, it will not go well. Former NBA Commissioner David Stern said last year that medical marijuana should be removed from the league's banned substances list. The World Anti-Doping Agency, which provides oversight for athletic events ranging from the Olympics to the Boston Marathon, currently lists cannabinoids, including marijuana, as banned substances, and as a spokesperson for the Boston Athletic Association said there are no plans to deviate from those rules. Still, says Mick Alpine, athletes for all of time have tried to find an edge to make them faster or stronger, and there will be people rushing to try this once they realize it's not going to hurt them. What's more powerful than mass gainer? A mass shooter. I find my game becomes more creative and less intentional. Blah blah blah. How the typically grueling running suddenly didn't seem so bad. Yeah, you see, I already called this. Like what is it? Your reflexes aren't so bad. So if you're doing a run or something, instead of going like this, instead of putting your arms and legs in the ready position, and oh my God, I gotta win. You smoke a joint, and it's just like, and then you just run normally and regularly, and then you gotta realize it's not about winning. It's just about you running, you getting the exercise, playing sports. It's not the end of the world if you don't win. Who cares?